the experience economy is truly well and alive and thriving.
Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
This podcast is called Let's Make a Scene.
I love that.
Yeah, to give you a little context, it's a podcast that we do at C2 that we're starting at C2 to talk to people who work in the event space, experiential marketers, people who are really kind of pushing the boundary of like, how do we bring people together? Because at C2, we do a lot of thinking about that. And we think there's a conversation to be had about the importance of why you invest in experiential, why you invest in events, how important it is to bring people together.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to talk to you because I think you are one of those people that's sort of pushing boundaries with what you do at Canva. Just so people know who you are, for the 5 people in the events world who might not know who Jimmy Knowles is. Yeah. Jimmy, do you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Of course, happy to. My name is Jimmy Knowles. Work at Canva, lead global experiential marketing for the team there. Been in the role for about 3.5 years or so. Prior to that, I had a really interesting kind of career trajectory. Worked for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for a brief stint. Had a job as a junior publicist with Fox Broadcasting for a hot minute.
Wow.
And then spent the better part of a decade working for Civic Entertainment Group, which is a boutique agency based in New York, and got to work with some really fascinating clients. For 10 years, I worked with Airbnb. So really got to grow the experiential muscle, growing and learning with them, which was really cool, and found my way here to Canva. And it's been exciting.
That's amazing. I think exciting is a bit of an understatement, right? So one of the things that we've been talking to people, both at C2 and on this podcast, is really around the idea of how do you create experiences that center participants and make them the sort of star of the show, that allow them the agency to create within the experience and not just sort of experience something or be a passive listener, right? And, I feel like your flagship event, Canva Create, kind of embodies that to a certain extent. But we see all of the beautiful pictures, especially the congratulations in 2025, looked amazing. But that's that to a lot of people, when we look at an event like that, there's so many people within our space who go that's a big swing, right? Yeah. It's a big risk. And I know you did an interview with BizBash recently, and you were talking about your process there, and you're talking about, hey, as a brand, we're permitted to take big swings. So I want to ask you about that, because I think the biggest issue a lot of our listeners have, or the people that we work with, is like, hey, I'd love to take big swings like that. What was the process of convincing leadership, to allow you and the experiential team to really push the boundaries of what you do at Canva Create?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about a little bit earlier that it has not been I didn't walk through the door and they were like, cool, blank slate, do whatever you want, right? It took a lot of trust building. It took a lot of, especially for a company that was not, Canva had never done any kind of experiential before. So it was brand new territory for the entire team. There was a lot of institutional knowledge that I had to bring to the table, and a lot of education that I had to do. It's why I made the decisions that we made, or why things are so expensive when I shift the bill across the table and, tell them why we need to do some of these things to make sure that it's a great experience. And transparently, that's a process that we're still going through. But I think building that trust was the most important thing. They needed to know that I was coming in and I was there to level us up, right? And to push boundaries and to bring an incredibly dynamic, colorful, playful brand to life in the right way, in a way that was going to be representative of our values, our mission, and was going to delight our audience. And that process of kind of building that trust, like I said, is ongoing, but was the first unlock. And it really took, my first 6 months building the first ever Canva Create was kind of that first touch point. And once we showed success and could prove success in bringing the brand to life in a compelling way and doing things that felt a little bit different and maybe, felt a little bit out of our comfort zone, there was an appetite to do more testing and learning. And, inch by inch, it was okay, cool. Canva Create was a major success. Let's try the Canva Studio in London when we launched EMEA, and let's see what a brick and mortar space looks like. And let's test out hands-on workshops and learning, and let's see what it looks like to bring Canva design and the print shop to life in a physical space. So that was like the next touch point, and bit by bit we kind of just built that confidence and built the excitement around what experiential can do for the brand and how impactful it can be in achieving our goals. And that's kind of how we started that process. And like I said, it's ongoing, but it's been really successful for us to date, which I'm really proud of.
The goalposts are always kind of moving a little bit, right?
Every day.
I want to speak about that because you mentioned the idea of building trust and then showing success, right? Can you talk about that? Because I think that's one of the challenges that a lot of events pros have is like defining what success means in those, and that's an ongoing discussion as well. But especially with leadership, can you talk a little bit about like how you set the parameters around what success looked like, how you measured it, what that meant, and how you were able to sort of say like, hey, we set this were the goals we set, and here's how we passed them?
Yeah, very much. And similarly, that it continues to be an iterative process, right? Like as we test and learn, as we try new things, as we figure out different ways to activate, different ways to bring the brand to life, we're kind of figuring out what works for us from like an ROI standpoint. What is going to prove success? What's going to feel really interesting? What's going to be compelling to our CFO when she's like, what is the ROI? Like, you spent this much money, you did this much, what is that bringing back for the business? And there's kind of like there's the tangible things, right? And I think about it in two different ways. There's the tangible and then the transformational. The tangible is like the reach, the impressions, like what did the shareability, like how are people capturing content at the event and then sharing it beyond? And like thinking about that is one piece of the puzzle. We also have the much more like cut and dry, like thinking about pipeline. How much pipeline was generated based on the conversations that were facilitated at this experiential event? What were the marketing qualified leads that we got? How does that then affect the bottom line? So there's some things that are much more cut and dry, but the transformational or the like intangible is like where the real magic happens, and where I think we as experiential marketers know is like the real proof in the pudding as to what is transformational about an experiential event. And that's the more like, did this inspire creativity? Did it resonate with the audience? Those are the things that are traditionally so much harder to measure, though they're arguably the most impactful things that can come from an experiential event. So it's, listen, we're trying and testing new ways to learn, to measure, to prove that ROI. But it's an art, not a science, right? Very much so.
Well, and I think the balance of art and science is really important, especially with a brand like Canva, which is in itself an art brand, right?
Totally,
like there's a creative element to it. And I think one of the important things about the experiences you guys create is something tied to the authenticity and sort of living the truth of what it means to be Canva, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about a particular moment, right? Because one of the other pillars that we've been talking about in terms of experiential marketing is this idea that we call transmedia, right? Like how do you leverage the power of storytelling across a number of platforms to like, and leverage your event to be able to extend its reach to so many other things.
Yeah.
Now you guys had a bit of a big moment in 2024 that went a little bit viral, right? And so I want to tie this also to the concept of taking risks. As you know, you don't need me to tell you, but you had a keynote moment that involved a rap performance, right? That went a little
rap battle.
Okay, rap battle.
Let's call it what it is.
Okay, sorry, rap battle, but it went a little viral, right? And now I'm interested because that can be a tricky moment for brands when something takes off like that, and it's shocking, and you're getting positive feedback, you're getting some shade online. How did you guys I felt like you guys did such a good job of capitalizing on this surprising moment. Can you talk through a little bit about like the decision making, how you got buy-in to kind of be like, yes, this is us, right? And like what was that like, right?
Yeah. It's comforting to hear that it landed well externally, or at least, we did a good job of representing ourselves, which I think is the most important part, right? Listen, when we were putting together the keynote and Mel had this incredible idea for a rap battle to launch Canva Enterprise in a way that was unexpected, in a way that was different. We very easily could have gotten on stage and created a Canva presentation that talked about SOC compliance and, the security risks and how we're solving for them at Canva and what we're doing with the enterprise product to address the needs of the CIOs and the CTOs. But we wanted to do it in a very Canva way and be unapologetically ourselves. And when this idea came up for the rap battle, we knew that we knew it was going to be very polarizing, right? We knew that people were either really going to love it or be like, oh, hell yeah, or they were really going to hate it and be like, ooh, that's cringe, which is precisely what happened. So we prepared ourselves for that and we knew it was going to happen. But I think the most important thing is to hold hands, right? And link arms in we're doing this and we're doing this together. And we're doing this because we are an unapologetic brand that is not going to change who we are. Like, we are going to put ourselves out there in the way that we want to be represented. We're going to make sure that the brand comes to life in a way that feels very us. And we're not going to change that for anybody. And I think that was the most important part about leaning into the rap battle. Like, we did it, we were prepared for the consequences, and the message that came after was exactly how we came into it. This is who we are. This is Canva. And like, you either get it and that's great and you're gonna like stand up alongside of us and you're gonna, applaud and you're gonna be like, this is awesome and so fun, or you don't, and that's okay too. And I think at the end of the day, us leaning into being ourselves is the most important result that could have come from that, and like not backing down from that. And when we went to go to 2025, we had two very clear choices. It was like we could either sink or swim, right? We could retreat and be like, oops, everybody thought it was cringe. Like, let's take a step back and like, let's strip a little bit of that away. Let's not be ourselves. Or we could lean fully into it. And we leaned fully into it, right? And we closed Canva Create 2025 with a musical number with
it was like
a
4 minutes
band.
long.
Yeah.
John Baptista's on stage.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, again, that is like that. We're not backing down. Like, that's who we are, and we're going to continue to lean into it. And it was so heartwarming and exciting to see the reaction that came from how we closed the show this year. Cause it's like, yeah, it just felt very us. And it was also a song that was written by our community. Every word in that song was from user feedback that we've gotten, or community members. And like, that made it even more special.
Well, and I think when you talk about authenticity and community, those things are so intrinsically linked, because if you want people to care about your brand actually has to say a thing.
Totally.
And if it's just sort of milquetoast, yes, this, we're apologizing for that. Like, how can you be emotional about something like that? So
you can't.
So you have to sort of lean into those things.
Completely.
And so you guys are, obviously off of those successes and those big moments, you were talking about the fact now that that's allowed you to take swings in other stances.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to finish on today is that you've just announced that you guys are going to be doing the beach at Cannes this year, right? You mentioned you're a little nervous because this is a new thing. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you able to, like, I'm going to do a little bit of a hot ones thing and tell the people what you're going on in your life, but like, can you give us a sneak peek? Like, how do you bring that experience to Cannes? And all right, I'm really bad at asking two-part questions. Cannes for me is a weird one because it's so much going on. It can be cacophonous.
Yeah.
How does Canva stand out on the beach?
Totally. So, yeah, listen, I mean, doing anything for the first time is nerve-wracking, right? Are people going to come? We've got a bunch of people registering. Are they going to show up? Are they going to like it? Are their expectations going to be met? So I think that's the only place where my nerves come from. Like, I am so confident and excited in what we're building. I know it is something that is uniquely Canva. And I'm really excited for this is our third year going to Cannes Lions, for the first time to be able to have an actual footprint that people can interact with. We've flown under the radar a little bit. The past couple of years, we've partnered with Variety. This will be our third year doing the Variety studio with them. But this is our first time, inviting people in, and very similar to what we did with Canva Create, taking this swing of, showing up and investing time, resources, people to be able to bring an experience to life. So there's always just this hesitation of like, how is it going to land, especially to your point, in such a crowded market. I think what we're really leaning into with the Creative Cabana is that we see a little bit of a white space. Strangely, I feel like Cannes Lions is a place where CMOs, media folks are like celebrated and put on a little bit of a pedestal. I think sometimes the creatives are often forgot about, which is strange at a festival that's celebrating creativity.
True story.
Right? So we really wanted to create a space that felt like a little bit of a safe haven for creatives and really invited them in. We're doing things like, this is not announced yet, but we're going to be curating a brunch for the experiential marketers at Cannes, who we think are like the real heroes behind bringing Cannes to life, but is another audience that is not represented and not celebrated. And that was an insight that our CMO Zach brought up. That was even something that I was like, can we do this? He was like, let's celebrate the real heroes who are building this and who are bringing these experiences to life. So I think we're trying to lean into the areas where, yeah, we think Canva can bring a really unique tone and impact to the audience there, and hope that cuts through.
Well, I'll be there. That's super exciting.
That's all I need.
Jimmy, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you for coming to C2. It's been really great. And yeah, excited to see what you guys are doing, what you guys are cooking up. And I will be on the beach with you.
Thank you guys for having me. I can't wait to see you on the beach.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my friend.